That chicken sandwich you just ordered, there's a decent chance it never came from a bird. It came from a factory mold, shipped, and warmed up for you. Today we're separating the real chicken from the engineered imposters, and some of the fakes are going to surprise you. Subscribe and let's open that wrapper. Jack in the Box entered the chicken sandwich wars in 2021 with the Cluck Sandwich, pricing it aggressively low and marketing it like a genuine contender in the fried chicken arms race. At first glance, it looks the part: golden breading, brioche bun, pickles, sauce. But the chicken underneath that batter tells a different story. Jack in the Box uses a formed chicken patty built from ground chicken trimmings, water, and a long list of functional additives including sodium phosphates and modified food starch. Those additives aren't accidental. Sodium phosphates help the ground chicken hold water so the patty feels juicy even after sitting under a heat lamp. And the starch binds everything together so it doesn't fall apart in the fryer. The result is a patty that's been shaped in a factory mold, not cut from a bird. That's why every single Cluck sandwich looks identical. Same oval, same thickness, same edges. Real chicken doesn't do that. At its price point, Jack in the Box is at least being honest about what it's selling: a cheap, accessible sandwich that fills a bun and tastes vaguely like fried chicken. The problem is, it's marketed with the same crispy chicken language as chains using real whole muscle fillets, and most people eating one have no idea they're essentially eating a large McNugget shaped like a sandwich. Burger King has tried harder than almost anyone to compete in the chicken sandwich category, relaunching their crispy chicken lineup multiple times, trying to convince America that BK does chicken right. The Chicken generated real buzz. The problem is what's actually inside it. Burger King's crispy chicken patty is a restructured product just like Jack in the Box. Here's the simplest test for a fake chicken sandwich. Does the fillet fit the bun perfectly every single time? Burger King's does. Same oval, same thickness, same edges, every location, every order, coast to coast. Real chicken breasts are wider on one end, thinner on the other, with natural curves that no two birds share. When your chicken is a flawless geometric shape across thousands of restaurants, it didn't come from a bird, it came from a mold. Burger King spent heavily marketing the Chicken as their serious entry into the chicken sandwich wars. TV spots, celebrity tie-ins, bold claims about flavor. And to be fair, the breading is decent and the sandwich looks the part. But great packaging on a formed patty is still a formed patty. The bun is real, the pickles are real, the sauce is real. The chicken is the one thing on that sandwich that went through a factory before it ever saw a kitchen. That perfect oval shape isn't a quality standard. It's a manufacturing spec. McDonald's spent years getting laughed out of the chicken sandwich conversation before launching the McCrispy as their serious answer to Popeyes and Chick-fil-A. It came with real marketing firepower: TV spots, social media campaigns, celebrity partnerships, and it genuinely looked like a step up from the sad McChicken that had been limping along for decades. But the chicken inside the McCrispy is still a heavily engineered product that has more in common with a McNugget than a real fried chicken sandwich. The McCrispy uses a formed chicken fillet that's processed with sodium phosphates, modified food starch, and a list of additional additives to hold its shape, retain moisture, and survive the McDonald's supply chain, which means surviving freezing, shipping, thawing, and frying at thousands of locations with minimal variance. That level of consistency across 14,000 US restaurants doesn't happen with whole, natural chicken. It happens when you control the raw material at the factory level, forming every piece to the same spec before it ever reaches a restaurant. The batter on the McCrispy is genuinely good, crunchy, well-seasoned, and engineered to stay crisp longer than most fast food breading. But great breading on a formed chicken patty is like a beautiful paint job on a car with a mediocre engine. You're tasting the coating, not the chicken. I really can't imagine why anyone would go to McDonald's when they have a hankering for a chicken sandwich. For decades, Subway was the responsible choice, the lunch you could feel okay about. You would get a foot-long loaded with vegetables and lean protein. The whole brand was built on that premise. Jared lost 245 pounds eating it. The marketing practically prescribed it as a health food. Then the other shoe dropped. In 2017, a CBC Marketplace investigation sent samples of Subway's chicken strips and oven-roasted chicken to a DNA lab and found that the chicken DNA content came back at around 50% in one sample. The other half was predominantly soy. Subway disputed the findings, but the study landed hard, and the damage stuck. The brand that spent 30 years telling you it was the healthy alternative had been quietly stretching its chicken with soy filler and charging you premium sandwich prices for the privilege. The structural issue isn't just one bad test. Subway's Rotisserie-Style Chicken is a processed, pre-formed strip product built with soy protein fillers and binding agents, manufactured off-site and reheated at locations. The word rotisserie style is doing enormous marketing work to imply something slow-cooked and carve-worthy, when the reality is an engineered strip designed to look and taste like real chicken without being made from much of it. For a brand whose entire identity was built on being better than the burger chains, that's not just a food quality problem, it's a 30-year lie. This is the most expensive fake chicken sandwich in America, and it hides in plain sight behind sit-down restaurant pricing, mood lighting, and the assumption that if someone is bringing it to your table, it must be real food. Casual dining chains like Applebee's, Chili's, and TGI Fridays serve crispy chicken sandwiches that are almost universally built from processed, formed chicken patties, ground trimmings, sodium phosphates, modified starches, and binders pressed into a breast shape and pre-breaded at a manufacturing facility to look hand-battered. That fake hand-battered look is a deliberate manufacturing trick. The processing plants that supply casual dining chains run the formed patties through a coating system that creates artificial crags and bumps in the breading, the same irregular texture you'd see if someone actually dipped a piece of chicken in seasoned flour. The patties are then partially fried, frozen, and shipped to restaurants where they're finished in a fryer from frozen. It lands in front of you on a real plate, at a real table, with a real server, and none of that makes the chicken any less fake. The scandal isn't just the quality, it's the price. You're paying $14 to $17 for what is functionally a very sophisticated McNugget in a brioche bun, at a restaurant with tableside service that implies a higher standard of cooking. At McDonald's, a formed chicken patty costs $4 and nobody pretends it's anything other than what it is. At Applebee's, that same basic product category gets an artisan bun, a drizzle of sauce, and a price tag that suggests real culinary work happened somewhere in the building. It almost certainly didn't. The difference between real and fake in this category is actually simple. Real chicken starts with a whole fillet cut from a bird, marinated, breaded, and cooked. It's irregular in shape because nature made it, and it tastes like chicken because it is chicken. Fake chicken starts at a factory where trimmings are ground, mixed with water and additives, pressed into a uniform shape, and engineered to survive a supply chain. You're not eating a piece of a bird. You're eating a chicken-flavored product designed to behave like one. It's not always about price. It's just about what's actually in the sandwich. Subscribe and let's dig into the real and quality chicken. Panera doesn't belong in the same conversation as most fast food chains, and that's exactly the point. While every other brand on this list is competing in the fried chicken arms race, Panera is doing something almost nobody else in national fast food bothers to do: grilling a whole, antibiotic-free chicken breast and putting it on a sandwich without engineering it into a different shape. The Panera chicken is whole muscle, marinated, and grilled fresh, not par-fried from frozen, not formed from trimmings, not battered to hide what's underneath. The result is a sandwich that looks genuinely different from anything on the fake side. The fillet has grill marks, an irregular shape, and visible muscle fiber texture because it came from a real bird and wasn't processed into a uniform patty before it got to you. Since 2015, Panera has sourced antibiotic-free chicken across their whole menu, which is more than most chains charging the same prices can say. It's worth noting that this is the only non-fried sandwich on the real side of this list, and that's not a coincidence. Grilling a real chicken breast is actually harder to fake than frying one, because the batter on a fried sandwich can disguise a lot of sins that a clean grill can't. When Panera puts a grilled chicken breast on a sandwich, what you see is exactly what you're eating. And in this category, that kind of transparency is rarer than it should be. Raising Cane's built their entire identity around one thing: fresh, never frozen chicken tenders. Not sandwiches, not nuggets, not a diversified menu with 17 proteins, just chicken tenders, done better than anyone else. When they eventually put those tenders into sandwich form, the result was messy, impractical, and completely delicious, because 3 separate whole muscle chicken pieces don't stack neatly inside a bun. And Raising Cane's was never going to press them into a uniform patty just to make the geometry work. That structural messiness is the point. Every Cane's tender is hand-battered fresh at the location, not pre-breaded, not shipped frozen, not finished from a par-fried factory blank. The chicken is marinated in-house, the batter goes on fresh every morning, and the frying happens to order. That process is exactly why Raising Cane's has strict, almost obsessive standards about how quickly they expand. They've built their reputation on fresh chicken, and fresh chicken requires systems that don't scale recklessly. Bite into the Cane's sandwich, and you get what you'd expect from 3 whole tenders stacked together. Irregular pieces of real chicken, genuinely juicy because the muscle is intact, and textured because it came from a bird rather than a mold. The Cane's sauce helps hold everything together and adds the tangy, peppery hit that the sandwich needs. It's not a pretty sandwich. Real chicken rarely is. While Popeyes was breaking the internet in 2019 and every chain in America was scrambling to launch a competitive fried chicken sandwich, Wendy's had been quietly doing it right since 1996. Their spicy chicken sandwich is one of the longest-running whole muscle chicken sandwiches in fast food. And in nearly 30 years, Wendy's never switched to a formed patty to cut costs. The chicken is a whole breast fillet, marinated and seasoned with black pepper, chili, and mustard seed before it's breaded and fried. There's no restructuring, no sodium phosphate injection, no modified starch holding ground trimmings together. The heat isn't a flavoring trick layered onto a processed base. It's built into the marinade on real chicken, which is why it sits differently on your palate than the artificial heat of a heavily engineered spicy coating. The fillet is irregular in shape and varies slightly in size because it's a natural piece of meat, not a factory spec. What makes Wendy's interesting in this context is the consistency of the commitment. During the height of the chicken sandwich wars, when every chain was under pressure to innovate and cut corners to compete, Wendy's didn't quietly swap their chicken out for a cheaper formed product. The same whole breast approach that launched in 1996 is still the foundation of the sandwich today. In a category full of brands chasing each other to the bottom, that kind of quiet consistency deserves more credit than it gets. Truett Cathy, founder of Chick-fil-A, invented the boneless chicken sandwich in 1964, and more than 60 years later, the original is still built the same way: a whole, pressure-cooked chicken breast fillet, marinated in pickle brine, breaded and fried in peanut oil. No formed patty, no restructured trimmings, no sodium phosphates holding ground chicken together, 2 pickle chips, a buttered bun. That's it. The pickle brine marinade is the detail most people know about but don't fully understand. Brining chicken in pickle juice, which is essentially salt, vinegar, and water, does 2 things. The salt draws moisture into the muscle fibers so the chicken stays juicy through the frying process, and the acidity starts to gently break down the proteins, tenderizing the meat before it ever hits the oil. It's a simple, old-school technique that requires no additives and no engineering, just time and the right ingredients. That's why a Chick-fil-A filet feels fundamentally different to bite into than a formed patty. You're chewing through real muscle fiber, not a compressed block of processed chicken. The consistency Chick-fil-A maintains across 3,000 locations with whole, unprocessed chicken is a genuine operational achievement. Every other chain at that scale has found reasons to justify switching to formed chicken: cost, waste reduction, uniformity, supply chain simplicity. Chick-fil-A hasn't, and the sandwich still tastes like the reason it sparked a 60-year obsession. In August 2019, Popeyes dropped a fried chicken sandwich and sold out of its entire national supply in 2 weeks. People waited in lines that wrapped around buildings. There were fights in parking lots. A man in Maryland was stabbed at a Popeyes during an argument over the sandwich. The internet declared it the best fast food chicken sandwich ever made, and chains from McDonald's to KFC to Burger King immediately started panicking about their own lineups. The reason the Popeyes sandwich hit that hard had nothing to do with marketing and everything to do with what's actually in it. Popeyes uses a split chicken breast, an actual piece of a real bird, not a formed patty, marinated for 12 hours in a Louisiana spiced brine before it's hand-battered and fried to order. The 12-hour marinade isn't a marketing talking point. It's the reason the chicken is as juicy as it is. Salt from the brine pulls moisture deep into the muscle fibers. The spices penetrate the meat rather than just sitting on the surface. And the result is a fillet that tastes seasoned all the way through instead of just on the crust. The batter itself is the other half of the story. Popeyes uses a thick, craggy coating that's been part of their Louisiana fried chicken identity since 1972, long before anyone was thinking about chicken sandwiches. That batter creates the dramatic, shatter-crisp exterior that made everyone's first bite feel like a revelation. And it holds up longer than most fast food breading because it was developed for bone-in chicken pieces that need to stay crispy through a full meal. When that coating went onto a whole split breast and landed between a buttered brioche bun with barrel-cured pickles and creamy mayo, it wasn't an accident that it worked. It was 50 years of fried chicken knowledge applied to a sandwich format. The size of the fillet is the last tell. A Popeyes chicken sandwich is almost comically large. The breast hangs over the bun on most orders, which is exactly what happens when you're working with a real piece of chicken, instead of a formed patty engineered to fit a specific bun diameter. You can't portion control a split breast the same way you can a factory mold, and Popeyes never tried to. The result is a sandwich that looks generous because it actually is, built from a real bird that was never asked to be anything other than what it is. The internet wasn't wrong in 2019. The Popeyes Classic is the best mass-market chicken sandwich in America, not because of the hype, but because it's still one of the few at national scale that starts with a real piece of chicken and lets everything else serve that bird. The chicken sandwich you're eating is either built from a whole piece of a bird or engineered from trimmings in a factory, and the price you pay has almost nothing to do with which one ends up in your hands. The fake side of this list includes a $4 drive-through sandwich and a $16 sit-down restaurant plate, both built the same industrial way. The real side includes a $6 Wendy's spicy chicken that's been whole muscle since 1996. The tell is always the same. Look for irregular shape, real snap when you bite through the crust into actual muscle fiber, and a brand that can tell you exactly what's in their chicken and where it came from. If the answer is a perfect oval and a long list of additives, you already know what you're eating. Drop your go-to chicken sandwich in the comments and subscribe so you never have to guess what's actually in your food again.